No, I did not boomer up the Rumble stream. Rumble took a crap on me, and I don't know why. Anyway, welcome to the Dawg Knight channel. For those of you who've never been here, I'm Marty, also known as Dawg Knight on the internet. And welcome on this Wednesday afternoon, 11th of January, 2023. We're having a special show. I've been working on this one for, 7 months now, I think. And we've got it finally live with our friend Nick Rekieta. I'm excited to have him here. We'll I don't even have an intro because this is not the Morning Night Live, so forget it. I'm just gonna bring on Nick. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Mr. Nick Rekieta.
Hey, what's up, buddy?
Hey, how's it going? So now we had a conversation before the show, and I forgot to tell you. I'm a little bit mad at you, by the way. I didn't
Oh,
tell you that part.
okay, good.
It has nothing to do with the fact that this is 7 months. You're a busy guy. That's not about you coming on the show. We've been going back and forth on DMs, Twitter, emails, text messages. That's not it. Here's what I'm pissed about. Okay.
Yep, I'm ready for it.
So I at night I work at UPS, and I watch your local stream live. I usually watch replays, whatever. And there's a song stuck in my head. Okay. Do you have any idea what that song might be?
Is it it's not my outro song, is it?
No. This morning someone mentioned Happy.
Oh, that fucking song.
Take along if you feel like a room without a roof.
Yeah. Yeah, no.
That fucking song has been in my head the entire goddamn day.
I didn't want that song to be around. I don't want that song to exist. I hate that song.
And I wasn't even listening, and I heard you started singing. And first of all, you were I don't know where you were, because you were trying to remember the song, and it was kind of there, kind of wasn't.
Yeah.
But anyway, so
no, that's the thing. I'm like, who can fucking remember this song at all times? Like, I have a lot of songs on recall, but Happy is not one of them. I have watched Despicable Me too many times with my kids, and I don't want to hear that song ever again.
Right. So anyway, I'm hoping that I can find something to remove it from that part of my brain that holds on to things. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. For those of you who don't know me, I know there's a lot of people in here in the chat that I have never seen before. I'm Marty, also known as Dawg Knight. I do a show in the morning, Monday through Friday at 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock Central, called the Morning Night Live, just talking about news and things that happen in the world. And this particular bringing in some guests is part of what I call Project 10,000. I've been out here on YouTube for 4 years. In fact, Friday will be my 4th anniversary on doing this show.
Hey,
but I've been out here in security because I got in trouble with YouTube early on. And I think it's caused them to not necessarily want to feature my channel. So I decided I'm going to grift off people like Nick Rekieta and other people, Hope to Jesus, other people that I'm bringing on in the next few weeks. And hopefully by my 2000th episode, which happens in February, I'm hoping to have at least try to build up to 10,000 subscribers on YouTube and 1,000 subscribers in Rumble. That's very ambitious because I'm only at about 1,400 right now. But anyway, that's what we're here for. And then I want to talk about a little bit with Nick, how Nick got to my show. So
it was a long and drawn out process.
Yeah. So one, and I kind of talked to you about this earlier, Nick, being a melanated American, a lot of times when I ask people in my chat or whatever, there was one person in my chat in particular who would recommend people that I should watch or recommend who should be on my show or who I should try to get on their show, one or the other. And usually they recommend other somewhat conservative, which I'm a conservative libertarian type, melanated Americans. So, there's all kinds of people that they recommend, Officer Tatum and ABL and all those people. But one of the people that they recommended was Nick Rekieta. Now, Nick Rekieta is not a melanated American.
Well, let me correct you there, sir. I definitely am. I am very black. I do not identify as white. Oh my goodness.
Nick. Now, let me tell you something. Nick. Now, you know that you're not a melanated American. Nick, you're not a melanated American.
No.
Here's what they said. They said, well, you should go on Nick Rekieta because Nick and that Drex guy, I mean, and I'm like, oh God, Drex must be black. Well, first of all, the name like Drex, of course he's black. But so that's how I ended up watching Nick Rekieta. So about, I don't know, it's 2.5 years ago, I started watching Nick, and I'm like, oh, this guy's pretty funny, and I like how he explains the law. So here's, I guess my question is too, because I don't know necessarily your backstory, other than the fact that you're a strip mall lawyer and and you know, in central Minnesota, and I know because we both live in Minnesota. We'll talk about that in a minute. Just do the backstory on how you started doing this, because you obviously you've blown up, and this is blown up in what, 3 or 4 years? I know you've been on longer than that, but really
5 years. 5 years is I'm just over 5 years from when I started, and I got pretty good engagement really quickly, and that was but I cheated, right? Like that's the trick, is you have to cheat on YouTube, and I'll tell you what I mean by that. So long story short, we get to a place where I'm a lawyer in small town Minnesota, and I have my own office, and it's a lot of work, and being a lawyer in small town Minnesota doesn't pay a lot. You have to really like build up a big client base to start getting a lot of money. But you know, it was fine, and I was working and doing okay with it. But I'm not the biggest fan of work. Work is hard. And so, but you know, you just do it. You do what you do though, right? Like you got to pay bills. And so you got to go to work. So then, I listened as my leisure to this podcast. It was called The Biggest Problem in the Universe. These two internet satirists, Dick Masterson and Maddox, who've been around for a long time, kind of older facets of the internet. Dick Masterson's claim to fame was getting on the Dr. Phil show as a professional chauvinist, which is one of the funniest gags I've ever seen. And if you ever go and look up the clips of it, they're brilliant. But so Dick and Maddox have this show. It goes for 2 years. It's a great podcast, but then they split up. Nobody says anything about it, and they start their own shows. After a while, Dick starts to tell the story, and shortly after that, Maddox sues him for somewhere between $20 and $400 million.
Oh,
it's kind of hard to tell because the lawsuit was written by an idiot. So everybody's kind of freaking out about this. The lawsuit papers drop. They hit Twitter, and I pull it up, and I start looking. I'm sitting on my couch. My wife's watching TV, and I'm just kind of next to her. This TV got old. And I start reading this lawsuit, and I'm like, okay, I got to stop. This is the dumbest thing I've ever read. I'm going to get on a camera. I'll drink some whiskey, and I'll read through this thing and just kind of like explain to people what this lawsuit is. Like I'll translate basically. And I couldn't figure out how to upload a 45-minute video to Facebook. Facebook hadn't really developed their video platform as much 5 years ago. And so I had no idea what to do. So I uploaded it to YouTube and then linked it to the Facebook group. And the Facebook group had several thousand active users. So I very quickly and they knew who I was in the group. They knew I was an attorney. So then I'm telling them about the legal implications of what's going on. I got a lot of attention really fast from that. So that helped a ton. But it was a complete accident. I mean, I would have just uploaded it to Facebook and probably never had a YouTube thing at all. If I had done it the way I thought I was going to do it. But then people said, do this a lot, do it all the time. And so I did. And then the show just grew over time from that. And then I picked up various, I don't want to just say trending topics, but topics that I was interested in and other people seemed to be interested in, talked about them from a legal or principled standpoint. And people kept listening and still do to this day. For some ungodly reason, they listen to me talk. So that's how I got started.
And you're very good at it. And you're very good at it. You know, you're good at talking. I guarantee that. Thank you. So, and then I started watching you probably a few months before the Rittenhouse trial.
Sure.
And that is that where it really blew up? Because I know that all of a sudden, I know it grew. You had a big influx then, but did you have a big influx prior to that? I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah. So there were several. The Dick show, I mean, that boosted me up to 5,000 subscribers very quickly. I mean, I started in November, and before the end of the year, I think it was, I had 5,000 subscribers. And then I was kind of just trending along with that and covering things like comics. The Comicsgate stuff boosted me, and I'd gotten, after about a year, to around 25,000 subscribers, I think it was. And then the Vic Mignogna case hit. It was around 20,000. But the Vic Mignogna case hit. I covered that very, very extensively, and that pushed me up into the 60 to 75,000 range. And then I hit a plateau there for a long time. And just, it was hard to get more engagement outside of that particular community until the 2020 election, in which a friend of mine named Dawg Knight broke the algorithm on YouTube. He figured out how to take advantage of a unique set of circumstances around the election, around Trump, and particularly around Republican ad revenue spending. And if you made these really short videos, like 3 minutes, 3-minute long videos, and you made consistently like 2 to 3 of them a day for about a week to 2 weeks, the algorithm would pick up that you would have an age demographic of 55 plus Americans. And once you got an age demographic of 55 plus right-leaning Americans, guess what? YouTube had a whole bunch of ads that they needed to deliver to those people. And pretty much any video you put out was like, they had hit 100K views. Like it did. And they were terrible videos. 3 minutes. Oh, what are they doing now? Look what they're trying to keep Trump down. He's going to win. Whatever. Like you do that. And so that's what got me. Like I did. And before anybody like takes the wrong impression, I didn't say anything in those videos I don't believe. They just didn't need to be very deep. That's not what people were consuming. They really wanted just these short little 3 to 5 minute boosters on how they felt about the election. And this is prior to all the election drama that we don't need to get into. This is the lead up to it.
Yeah, we're on YouTube.
And so, right. And so that got me over 100K, which was my goal for the end of that year. But I lost interest in that. It was doing these like surface level things was really, it was good for views and subscribers, but it was really shitty for, I'm sorry. I assume profanity.
Okay. I don't fucking care.
Thank God. Okay.
I don't care. No, we're past whatever that window is, I guess. And so I swear, be Nick. Look at me. Look at me.
I'm looking right at you.
You be you.
Okay. I will.
You be you.
Let me tell you about the Jews. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
Be mostly me.
You without a little less Kanye.
But no, so it was good for views. It was good for, I mean, frankly, it was really good money. And it was good for subscribers, but it was also really horrid to like do, because it was so shallow. And even though you believe the stuff you're saying, it's not what you're interested, or not what I was interested in.
Right.
So then I kind of mellowed off on that, and things just kind of casually, grew on their sort of steady pace. And then that's when the Rittenhouse trial came through. And that was the next big blow up. I think my channel about doubled in size at that point. So we got well over 200K, and then, covered some other trials and topics, and things were just going all sorts of fine. And then hit Johnny Depp and gained quite a bit more to leave me about where I am now, a little bit south of where I am now. But yeah, now I'm at 475,000 subscribers, and it's pretty cool, man.
And your Rumble has gotten over 100K now.
Yep, 107,000 on Rumble. That platform is growing. The growth on Rumble seems much more consistent. YouTube is a cruel mistress, man.
Yeah,
is a cruel mistress.
Well, and it seems like so much on YouTube. I kind of was going through the subs that I have, and maybe 10% are regular actual watchers on YouTube. Now it may be different once you get up into those larger numbers, obviously. Well, at least when you get to doing trials, but then you get a lot of new people watching during trials.
Right.
By the way, those of you who are watching now, and I know a lot of you aren't subscribed because I average maybe between 30 and 50 people watching my streams, and there's 300 something people here. Hey, there's a purpose for this. Sub to my channel. All right.
The grift is on, guys. Get it.
Well, yeah, this is the grift. And by the way, and I see some people dropping super chats. I really appreciate that. If you don't want to give Susan 30%, you can do the Streamlabs link at the top of the chat. So anyway, and I don't know what happened to Rumble. Rumble died. So anyway, so that's the background of YouTube. I also want to talk now. The other one thing I wanted to talk to you, make sure I talked to you about, was cheerleading.
You fucking would. You fucking would.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, that's something we have in common. And by the way, did you understand when I was yelling, Nick?
Yeah, you're being Drex.
I'm being Drex. Oh my God. I watched him on with Andrew Esquire the other night, and Andrew Esquire was talking to some Australian porn star, and Drex started telling stories, and I'm like, this is Nick's friend?
We've been friends forever, man.
I'm not gonna get dragged. Oh, Lady Boomer's in the chat. Lady Boomer is my wife. You did a toast for Lady Boomer. My Lady Boomer had surgery on the 20th of December.
Oh,
and she's still in recovery right now, but she's upstairs. And the recovery is going well. She's got probably another 3 to 4 weeks of recovery, but she said hello. She says hello, my friends, and I do appreciate the toast. By the way, most of you are Nick's subs anyway. Nick's is a master of giving toasts. And maybe it's just because you drink a lot.
I don't know. I never really gave toasts, and then people started asking me to do it one day, and it's become a thing. I have no idea, so I just try and think for a second and give someone a heartfelt toast. But to Lady Boomer, hi. I hope your recovery goes smoothly and everything works out for you. So
she dropped a pink shit in the chat. I've never seen one of those before. Where did you find that? Holy. Okay. Anyway. All right. So now
it's the good meds from surgery right there.
There you go. Well, yeah. So she just started eating solid food again, and I made some chili, and she's been eating the chili, so maybe that's where that came from. Anyway, all right. Cheerleading. I did want to talk about because that is something we have in common. I also was a cheerleader in college, but when I look at you, Nick,
you're wondering how on earth I was a cheerleader. I'm wondering
how in God's name did those shoulders throw someone in the air? Okay, I don't mean that. Tell the cheerleading story of how you got in cheerleading, because mine's
okay.
Similar.
So where were you a cheerleader?
I was a cheerleader at Drake University.
Okay, so you were a cheerleader at a school that is, how big is Drake?
Drake at the time, somewhere between 8,000 and 10,000 students, but
it's actually pretty similar.
It was a Division I basketball school. At the time, it was Division I in football, like that second tier Division I. But cheerleading was not a big thing at Drake.
Yeah.
And so when I started, I actually was an athlete in high school. I played 4 sports up until my senior year, and then I was a musician. I basically decided to be a musician, and so I ended up starting out as a music major, and I marched in the band and the first year of college, and I'm like, I don't want to be a music major. I don't know why I'm doing this. So someone talked to me about cheerleading, but we'll talk to your story first. Let me just tell you this. I was a cheerleader. The first year I cheered, I was like, oh, this is fun. I mean, why wouldn't any straight male want to do this? It's fun as hell. And then we went, did you guys go to camps?
No, we didn't go to camps.
Oh,
they probably wanted to put us in a camp, but not that kind.
And after that first year, I tried out to be an instructor, and I ended up teaching cheerleading camps for 4 years. Oh. That was awesome. But let's hear your story first.
My story is much less prestigious than teaching cheerleading camps. So I went to Southwest. It's now Southwest Minnesota State University, but when I started with Southwest State University in Marshall, Minnesota, small school, farm town.
Out in Marshall, right?
Yeah. Yeah, where the wind blows straight through your soul. There are no trees. It's just cold, flat wind. It's terrible.
Has a nice stadium though. My son recruited to play basketball there, and it's a nice stadium for a Division II stadium. I thought it was nice. Anyway.
Yeah. But anyway, so I'm I was in karate and taekwondo because I'd done martial arts on and off forever. And then I went to taekwondo one day, and I like to show up early because some people would get together and we would spar before we would actually do the class. And so I showed up early, and I opened the door into the gym, and this little curly haired blonde comes up to me, is like, "Are you here to join cheerleading?" I'm like, no. I'm here to hit people. Like I'm trying to harm other people. I don't want to do cheerleading. That's gay. And she says, "Oh, okay. Well, we're looking for guy cheerleaders." I'm like, "Well, good luck with that. That'll be fun for you." And but she's super cute, right? And she keeps talking to me for a bit, and she says, "For every guy that you get to join cheerleading, I'll get cheerleaders to join taekwondo." And so I said, "Oh, okay. This is a different plan here than I'm used to." But I started thinking about it. I got together a couple friends, and I said, "Do you guys want to form the worst male cheerleading squad in human history?" Because it's me, right? And at the time, I'm even thinner. I was a 6'2". I'm about 160 pounds, 165 pounds at the time. And my two of my friends, they were about 5'5", 5'6", like 135, 140 maybe. And then the other guy was about 6 feet, and he was about 200 pounds, but he was a fat guy. He's not in good shape. So this is ragtag group of idiots, and we're like, yeah, this will be funny and stupid. So we join, and they give 4 of the cheerleaders joined taekwondo, and we ended up kind of doing what we could do. None of us guys had done anything remotely like this at all. So none of us were gymnasts or anything like that. So we just we lifted the way we could lift. We did chairs and hands and all that shit. But we didn't really have like huge stunts or whatever. We had a no dancing policy. The guy cheerleaders did not dance in any way.
Good. I cannot stand watching male cheerleaders dance.
No, because they just look like women, and it's weird.
Motions are fine, but dance, hell no. And that was, well, I was a UCA cheerleader, which there was UCA and NCA when I was cheerleading. I'm a little bit older than you. In fact, I think I was in college just after you were born. But yeah, no, the NCAA cheerleaders were usually the ones who danced around.
That old.
You'd be shocked. I graduated high school the year you were born, because I heard you say the year when you were born.
Can I dox you your age then?
Oh, that's fine. I know.
I was born in 81. You graduated high school in 81.
No, I graduated in 82.
Oh, not 81. That'd be crazy.
I'm an old man. I'm older than I look, and
I was gonna say you don't look that old.
Well, thank you. I hear that a lot. That's good. Okay, wait. Let's finish your story.
Yeah.
Boomer said we need to finish your story here.
Well, I mean, so then, my goal was pretty simple and straightforward from the start. My target was a curly-haired blonde, who is now named Lady Rackets. I joined cheerleading and made myself basically inseparable from her. We became best friends. I mean, pretty quickly. Like, we hung out all the time. This is before we were dating or anything. We became friends really quickly, hung out a lot, and then that just morphed into a relationship. And so that was August or September. It was right at the beginning of the semester. But by the next June, we were engaged. Or no, wait. I think we got engaged in May of the next year. So I mean, it was about 5 to 7 months of knowing each other. We got engaged very quickly, but we set our wedding out a little over a year after that, and we're engaged for quite a while, for a little over a year, and then we got married. I finished school. So the first year, yeah, we were cheerleaders. The second year, we both got elected to be cheerleading captains. Made those bitches do some work for once.
So you were the captain of the squad. You ended up married. That's such a sweet story.
I know.
It's so nice.
It was but that's how it worked out, man. It was but we had a ton of fun. Cheerleaders are hilarious to hang around because they're blissfully ignorant of the world around them most of the time. Well, the hot ones are. The rest of them aren't. It's always funny when you see like when you deal with hot women, because it's for many of them, especially at the college age, like they just haven't had to deal with that as much bullshit as the rest of the world, or they kind of like get to ignore a lot of it. And that was really evident with some of the cheerleaders who were really smart. Like they did really well in school, but they're the dumbest fucking people you'd ever meet.
Okay, let's not. No. Now, don't say dumb. Dumb.
No,
naive is a good word.
Sure. Whatever you want to, however you want to categorize it.
No, because like my stunt partner that the first 2 years, she might have been the smartest person I've ever met. But also, you could pull a joke on her just about any time of the day because naive. The smartest person I've met, but just completely naive. So yeah, no, I know what you're saying though. Real quick, let me do a couple. I'm gonna try to keep up on chats because it's easier to do it that way. Thank you, Torgo the White, who just says no. I don't know. Oh, unbreaded. I thought that is a no and bread, so that means unbreaded.
Unbreaded.
Yeah, those are fun. If you don't, by the way, the few of the people who come here that aren't subbed to Nick, please sub to Nick on Rumble, because you'll get a full show and then you'll get the unbreaded, which you'll just have to figure out what that is. Also, 200 Watt Studio says, P-Dog, Nick wants to ask you if you like balls or no. But where's the rest of this chat? Why is this not? I can't see the whole thing.
Balls or no balls on your futa?
Yes, I know. Yeah, I can't remember what futa means though.
Sure you can't. Okay. No, it's so it's an anime girl who is biologically female, but also has a giant penis.
Okay.
So should the penis have balls attached to it or not?
Well, it would be irregular if it did not. I'm not into anime peni.
Mm-hmm.
But if it is a penis, it should have balls. Okay.
Thank you. This is actually a rule of court. It's called the rule of completeness.
Okay.
Right? Like, so if someone presents some piece of evidence and it's like out of context or whatever, and it's missing something, you would say you want to introduce the rest of the evidence under the rule of completeness. And that evidence might otherwise have been inadmissible, but it's like, oh, wait. They can't just show this one quote out of context. We got to have the whole conversation. So we want to, under the rule of completeness, we want to move to admit this into evidence. That's what balls are on futa. It's not like you want them there necessarily. It's not like you like balls that much, but if there's a penis there, the rule of completeness demands there be a set of testicles.
Ladies and gentlemen, Nick Rekieta lost playing the futa. That's fantastic. Nicely done. Okay. The Chigi Show. I don't know what that says. The Chigi Show. Been having some discussions with Nick about coming on my show, and I'm jelly. Well, put in 7 months of work, constant DMs and emails and text messages. You'll have the prized text message option, and eventually Nick will answer one of them
after 7 short months,
maybe 2. He might say your name on a stream, and then he ends up on your show. So there you go. Reason I kept doing that though, because one day you were talking about something about persistence and about, if you want to do something, don't give up on shit. And so I'm like, yeah, you're right. So I'm just going to keep bugging you until you're on, and poof, look at this. Look, you're here. It's amazing.
And with me, it's especially important because of a couple things. One, I'm disorganized. Two, I have a level of ADHD where like if something leaves my attention, like it'll just get pushed aside, and then I'll sometimes remember and bring it back, but a lot of times I don't. And so I have to sometimes I just have to be reminded. And then when you combine that with being very, very busy in general, it's like, okay, if something gets, and the way social media works too, if something gets pushed down past a day, I mean, I'm going to lose it because I get notifications and messages from all sorts of people, and it just pushes the existing ones down. So I ask, people to give me a little grace on that. And then if they want me on the show, typically just reminders that, hey, you want to do that. And the other thing is bring me something that we can talk about. It really helps to have a conversation, an idea of what the show is going to be, especially for people who want to come on my show. They'll send me a message, be like, hey, you should interview me on your show. And I'm like, that, or you should talk to so-and-so. They're great. And I'm like, well, okay. But like, what am I going to talk to them about? I just want a basic skeletal framework. I don't need a lot, but give me something to talk about with them. And that's a whole nother thing. But I get weird like DMs that are just like, hey, come on my show. I mean, right. Like, okay. I don't mind, but
I always get the suggestions of the melanated Americans who are somewhat conservative or libertarian. And I get those suggestions all the time. And I'm like, well, yeah, but what do you want me to talk with them about?
Right.
But in your case, with so many subs and so many people follow you all over the place, I can imagine that your DMs are just a mess. And so that's why I always pinged you. I'm like, I'll just ping it so it'll push it back up the top. Real quick, Charlie D'Angelo, thank you, sir. And Charlie D'Angelo, did you see the little video he made with us?
Oh yeah. You tweeted it out, right?
Yeah,
I saw that. That was good.
Charlie says, hey, P-Dog, great to see you and Nick on the show. Big hugs to you both. Charlie's awesome. If you he puts out some really cool stuff. Looks like I got let's see. I got a couple here on Streamlabs too. Is that from this morning? Okay, no, that's from this morning. Never mind. Okay, all right, enough of those. All right, let's move on to another topic real quick, because you're also, the other thing we have in common is we're both transplants to Minnesota. And but you transplanted here from Houston or Texas, somewhere in Texas?
Yeah, Houston, Texas.
And that was because you moved here with your family, not because you chose to live here, right?
Right. Yeah. I don't think I could choose to live in this state.
Oh, see, I chose to live in this state.
I'm so sorry for your mistakes.
No, and it's funny because so like I said, when I was cheerleading, and I taught cheerleading camps in the summer for Universal Cheerleaders Association, right? And we would go to different places every week. We'd have 9 weeks of high school camps, and then we'd do 4 weeks of college camps, right? And so they would, because I'm at Drake, I'm from the Midwest, no one in the rest of the country ever heard of Drake, so they'd always have me come out to these camps all over the Midwest, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa. Sometimes I do southern camps, but mostly I'd be in this part of the country. So we travel around, and I've been to like pretty much everything, all but 4 states, over this time period, and I just liked Minnesota. We went to Jay Kuzno's the first time I came here. They had those yard beers, and it was beautiful here in the summer. I'm like, oh, this is kind of a cool place. And they sent me back here a couple different years, and I liked it. But I was never here during the winter. And so I'm like, oh, well, one of my friends in college, one of my college roommates, he was moving here from Milwaukee, got a job here, and he said, yeah, I'm moving to Minneapolis. I'm like, oh, I'd love to live in Minneapolis. I love Minneapolis. And so that's how I ended up here.
Yeah.
And then that first winter came, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? But the thing is, people here attack the winter. Now, so living where you live in the tundra.
Yeah, on the middle of it.
I wonder how you end up there though.
Okay, yeah. So here's the story of that. Grew up, started off in Houston. When I was about 10, we moved up to Minnesota. My dad worked for Cray, Cray
Okay.
Computers. Which if you know Cray, you know Cray. If you don't, you don't. But they make computers. They used to be like 6 feet tall and in the shape of a C for Cray. Now they just fill warehouses, basically. Like they're huge supercomputers. They do very complex calculations for pharmaceuticals, for governments, for weather, for whatever. He worked for them for, I don't know, 35 years, something like that. And they moved us up from Houston to Minnesota. So we lived in Lakeville, Minnesota.
Sure.
And that's where I went to high school. But then I went to college in Southwest, which was not really a conscious choice to go to Southwest for any reason other than I was going to Normandale Community College my first year out of high school, and I hated it. It was like high school part 2. And I recognized a lot of people, and it felt like high school. And I was talking to my friend. I was whining. He's like, "Well, why don't you go to Southwest? That's where I'm going." And I was like, "All right." So I signed up and just got admitted and went to Southwest, and had a fun year there. I was planning on moving back to Texas actually after that first year though. My second year at Southwest was going to be my last. I decided I was going to go down to either UT in Austin or whatever school is down in like San Marcos, right south of UT, south of Austin. I can't remember. There's a smaller school.
San Marcos is awesome.
Yeah. And I wanted to go down there and finish my writing degree down in Texas and have a bunch of fun. I had a relative down there I was going to go live with and party it up. But then I met Lady Rackets and it was like, well, I guess I'll stay in Minnesota for a while. But her whole family is from this area.
Okay.
And are mostly still around. And so we had a 5-year plan basically after college. We were living in the Twin Cities. I was working, but we had wanted to move out here to kind of be close to her family and stuff like that was the idea. We ended up following through on that. And that's where we are. We've been here now 13 years, I guess, about out in the middle of nowhere near Spicer, Minnesota. I hate a lot about this state. I hate the winter in general, mostly because I don't actually care about the cold. I hate the snow. I hate that it piles up. I hate that it's everywhere. I hate that when you walk inside, there's like puddles of dirty water all over the floor, no matter where you go. It's awful. You can't get it out of your house. If you try and have like a rug, that rug gets so gross that you have to change it out all the time. You don't even wash it. You just take it out back and shoot it before it grows legs or whatever. I hate that. I hate the taxes, man. They're so brutal. The income tax is just, it's so nasty out here. But it's it is what it is. That's the bad stuff. The good part is I have 8 acres of land. It's beautiful, both in the summer and the winter, and it's really peaceful. And if I go outside and look up, I can see the night sky and I can see stars. So there's good stuff about it, but the taxes are the biggest detriment, really.
And you have some nice water there too in Spicer, right? And there's a couple big lakes there too.
Yeah, Green Lake is a big one. It gets a lot of attention. They do fishing openers there and stuff from time to time. A lot of people come out to Green Lake. And there's just a ton of lakes like right around. I mean, within a mile of my house, there's probably 8 different lakes.
Well, and I moved here, like I said, I liked it. And the thing about the winter here though is that people here attack the winter. That was kind of the thing I used to say when I first moved here, because I lived down near Lake Calhoun in Minneapolis when I first moved here. And there's people running, there's people cross country skiing, there's people out on the lake fishing. I'm like, what are all these people doing out in the cold? It's fucking cold. What are you doing? But and then when I when I met Lady Boomer, by the way, Lady Boomer and I met in a kind of a romantic way too. We met in a bar. But anyway, she was on her way out when we met, and I'd probably tell that story to my viewers another time, but she was on her way out, and I'm like, I like it here. So when we got married, it was like, we're still here almost 30 years later. So, all right, let's move on to the original reason.
Real quick.
Yeah.
Have you ever been proper ice fishing though? Where you go in like a trailer that has heat and a TV and a bunch of food, and you like drill a hole in the, not all the way through the ice, and you just put like bottles of whiskey and beer down in there to keep it cold, and then you just sit around drinking for hours and hours, and you don't even know if you catch anything.
Well, look, I had never been ice fishing. Well, I'd been ice fishing once when I was a kid, but that wasn't in Minnesota. When I moved here, we now have a family ice fishing contest because one of Laura's aunts lives on a lake, and we had one last year, and her cousin, yes, has a big old, he doesn't have a trailer, but he has a tent that he puts out on the lake. He drills about 5 holes. He brings a heater in there, and we have, like you said, he didn't have the TV, but there's people out there that have like 24-foot trailers, and they just sit out in the lake, and they're in there drinking, and they end up sleeping in the ice house. And I'm like, in fact, so the first year I lived here, okay, I worked for TGI Fridays, and then I was a bartender, and I was working in Roseville I picked up some shifts in Roseville, and the managers at the store in Roseville, I go back in the storeroom, and these guys got all this wood, and they're cutting wood, sawing stuff up, and they got the circular saw, and they're hammering and whatever, and I'm like, don't you have like maintenance people who do this stuff? What are you guys doing? And he goes, oh, we're building a fish house. Like, in the storeroom of TGI Fridays. So, but yeah.
Wait, did you work? Was that one by the Roseville Mall?
Yes. Yeah. Rosedale. But that one, I didn't work at that one normally. I was picking up shifts there, but I worked at the one by it was the Radisson South at the time, like the year of the Super Bowl. And we had all the sports.
Super Bowl 26, right?
In 91, when we had the Super Bowl, we had the NBA All-Star Game, we had the World Series, we had the Stanley Cup, we had the International Special Olympics. All happened that one year. All of those happened in Minnesota. And that's the one I worked in, the one where every time they brought in people to stay somewhere, like the Washington Redskins stayed at the hotel right across the parking lot from us. So all the Redskins would come in every night. And that's where I met Franco Harris, and I met Payne Stewart, was still alive at the time. During the US. Oh, we had the US Open that year too. So all the golfers that weren't renting houses stayed at the Radisson South.
Sure.
All the golfers went there too. But
so I have fun trivia about that, about Super Bowl in Super Bowl 26 or whatever. That was the first time I was ever on TV. My family was interviewed by a news station because we went to they had the Super Bowl warm-up workout.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody went, they went down to the Metrodome and did this like stupid workout thing. And we're all sitting there bundled up Texans doing this. So I think the top of my head wearing a stocking cap because I was 10 years old was on screen, but that was the first time I was ever on a TV camera.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, they had a tent down there, and they were having these music events, and I think we saw Huey Lewis in the News was when we went down there, but we were like, wow, this is kind of boring, let's go drink. So
Huey Lewis. All right.
Yeah, right. So all right, now the other reason I was originally going to bring you on here, and here we are. Back in July of last year, when I first contacted you, we were both suspended from YouTube for various reasons. I don't remember why you were suspended. That wasn't the Keffels thing though. That was December, wasn't it?
The Keffels thing happened. No, it was October.
October
was when Keffels happened. I got suspended in late July, And then I got suspended again in August or September. And then October was when I was removed. I think it was October 5th or something like that.
Okay.
Was when I was removed from YouTube. So but I did have multiple suspensions in a row. That was joyful. It's always nice when YouTube takes like a quarter to half of your month of income and just says, "Oh, you don't have access to this. You can't do anything to earn money." Like, oh.
Well,
okay.
let's talk about that system. I know it's one of your favorite things in the world to talk about.
Sure.
And how bad it is, because okay, give me the pros and cons of the YouTube strike system.
Oh, let me give you the pros. Okay, we're done.
Very good.
Yeah, the YouTube strike system is this. In theory, it's actually not the worst implementation of a community guidelines system. In theory, in practice, it's a cluster. But the theory is that if there is something that violates YouTube's community guidelines, and usually this comes from someone flagging a channel, although there is also an algorithm that monitors things as well. But usually you've got a flag being put. Someone identifies content that they think violates the guidelines. A team member looks into the flag, or it triggers an algorithmic read of the flag, and then it gets further review. And then if they determine that it's violative, they apply a strike. Now you can appeal this, and this is what would, in theory, make it a semi-okay system. Appealing a bad decision should net you a result. The problem is twofold. The appeals take too long to answer, and you never, ever, well, they take too long to answer if you're going to get a positive result. They take days. And if you're suspended for 7 days, being suspended for 5 isn't much better. Right. So the positive results take forever. Negative results are usually within 20 minutes, which is annoying. The other problem is you almost always get a negative result through the appeal process. And what you have to do now is you have to go on Twitter, organize a massive campaign to get people to get YouTube to actually look at the problem on the appeal. And even though your appeal will be rejected, you can get the strike overturned by Twitter. That is a bad system. You should not have to go external to get a valid look at your account. But that's what YouTube has decided is the option now. The way it works is your first strike, you get a 7-day suspension automatically. Your second strike this is within a rolling 90-day period. So if you get another strike within those 90 days, then you get a 2-week suspension. And if you get a third strike within that initial 90-day window of the first one, then your channel is deleted. No questions asked. And that's a big problem that I have, actually.
One of the other problems, at least with the community guidelines strike system, it often depends on who you get.
Yes.
And their common usage of English and English slang and English, idioms and things like that, because sometimes, at least my last one in particular, which was very annoying because I got a strike on a video that was 15 months old.
And those are fun.
And they gave me 2 weeks because I have one active strike that ends, I think, January. In 2 days it comes off. But you go in there and I disputed. I'm like, look, back at this time it was something about questioning the elections, which is the stupidest thing to be struck for anyway. But now that we see how the Twitter files work, we understand what's going on behind the scenes. But it was a 15-month-old video. Why would you get a 2-week suspension for a 15-month-old video? And so I'm going through the appeals process, right? And it's a 2-week strike, but 3 weeks later, I get this message that, oh, we made a mistake. We overturned it. It's gone.
Thanks.
But, now I had figured it out within a week that they had overturned it, but they never notified me. But yeah, 2 weeks after that, they notified me. By the way, Jess Phillips that you just said hi to.
Yeah.
That's my son-in-law.
Oh, hey, what's up, Jess?
And my daughter Alyssa's in the chat, and my wife's in the chat, which I don't usually get all three of them in at the same time. So it's
like a family reunion up in
nobody's
here.
doing anything this afternoon. What's going on here?
Get to work.
But I've had a lot of success, like with copyright claims. I appeal those almost every time because I get them all the time. Sometimes we stream live from locations where there's be some music in the background, and they'll be like, oh, they're going to claim this music that's in the background, but those seem to be a little easier. But like you said, when you, for example, when you were going through all this nonsense with the Keffels thing, having to have people go on Twitter to contact them, what is there any you have this unique way of writing appeals.
I use as much profanity and vitriol as I can fit into them.
Do you ever just get it from, were you ever get the appeal to save whatever you're trying to do? I mean, does that work?
No, on copyright, yeah, I win them all the time. And okay. I insult the copyright owner and claimant constantly. That's my personal thing to do, because they either are doing a robotic copyright claim most of the time. Like if it's a big company, NBC doesn't have somebody manually reviewing for fair use. They pretend to, it's a complete lie. Right. So that. So I always call them all sorts of profane names. Because I know the way DMCA works is as long as you fulfill the requirements, YouTube has to reinstate your video and the other party has to sue you to keep it down. And they're not going to sue over most of this stuff because they don't have a good case and it would be a waste of their time. So I just load it with profanity because I know some idiot has to sit there reading it. And that brings me joy, right? Like some
gotta be laughing when they're reading some of those ones you've written.
You'd hope so. Because it's some in-house staff attorney who's like, oh, Jesus.
So let me ask you those. So, you've got this big channel. You have a rep that you can talk to, whatever. But if someone else this happened to, someone small like myself, and I've been pretty successful at getting them taken away, but occasionally they don't. Do you recommend, they have two choices. You can go with the just regular appeal, or you can immediately escalate.
Oh, I haven't seen the immediate escalation.
Oh no, now you can immediately escalate to, and you get a 7-day decision, and they have to answer within 7 days, and then it'll.
Oh, is this on copyright?
On copyright, yes.
Okay, yeah. Well, I guess it depends. If you get a copyright strike, and they actually apply the strike, I would want that resolved as fast as possible. If you get a copyright strike while you're live, they prevent you from streaming for 7 days. So again, that'd be one where I would want the escalation to go as quickly as possible. For the like content ID claims and general copyright claims, it depends on your video, but the reality of the strike system, the demonetization, the copyright, all of the stuff that YouTube does, for the overwhelming majority of people, the bulk of your views are coming in the first 48 hours. And when you have a negative impact on any video, that it's that first 48 hours that you're getting the negative impact. You get the yellow monetization icon. Okay, well, thank you. My video is going to make $100. Now it'll make $4. Awesome. Or you get, if you get that, like the video goes up and then gets taken down or disabled in a region for the first 48 hours. I mean, it kills it. It kills all the momentum the video is going to get, because that's how the YouTube algorithm works. You put out a video, your subscribers get notifications. Hopefully you pray to God that they do. Often YouTube doesn't send them out. They all click on the video. And then based on the response to your own subscribership, based on how much they watch of the video, based on them clicking like or not, based on them leaving a comment, if they get high engagement metrics on all of those things, it'll start to distribute to a greater sphere around the internet, people outside of your immediate circle, people who have watched your channel, maybe once or twice before. It'll start to go to them, and then it'll go to people completely outside. And if that momentum keeps up, and you have a high click-through rate, you can have a banger of a video. But it really does depend on that initial engagement. So anytime they cripple that initial engagement, it just completely screws whatever work you've put into a video entirely. And that's what really, really sucks about the system in general, is that YouTube disincentivizes high production. Because if you get any negative impact on your video, that high production value becomes a waste. All of that investment becomes useless. And for me, that's why I stream more than I produce short content, because I'm too prone to say something controversial enough to get at least a temporary demonetization.
No.
So
No.
like it was always tough editing those short videos, or editing myself for a short video, trying to like just keep it. And you don't even have to say anything bad. If there's someone who's trending too hard, like Johnny Depp, for example, and you put Johnny Depp in the title, you'll get a yellow, or at the time you'd get a yellow thing automatically, because they didn't want people exploiting tags and metadata to push something that was against the standards. So I hate that about YouTube on all of the fronts, is that it disincentivizes higher quality content unless you are big enough to have a channel rep, to get into certain programs where you can have someone pre-screen your video for monetization. All of those things are out there if you have a big enough footprint. But for the majority of people, that's not true. And so it disincentivizes high quality work. I mean, do you want to, someone once suggested to me, which was, it's a good suggestion for kind of traditional media. It's a bad suggestion for YouTube, but they're like, you should take 10 grand and really develop one video and put it out there. And I was like, yeah, no,
no, not on YouTube though.
Right. Not on YouTube, because you take 10 grand, you put it in. Now, if you get a good hit, if you get 2 million views on it, you're going to make more than $10,000 on the video. But if anything happens, you lose everything.
My experience. Okay, here's my experience, because I've been on YouTube for, I think, since 2016, and I didn't have 1,000 subs until a couple of years ago, until just before actually it was when I started doing this show. My subs started going up, but I pissed somebody off at YouTube the first, probably within the first 10 videos I made, because you remember James Damore?
Oh, you see, here's another thing we have in common.
I did a really, I thought, was a fantastic video on James Damore, right? And just kind of going through his arguments and kind of, the pros and cons of what he was saying, right?
Yeah.
And I actually had someone from YouTube. First of all, it got taken down.
Yeah.
And I appealed it to me, and like, why would you take this down? And it got put back up, and somehow I got in communication with some YouTube, and I got on their shit list immediately. Now, once I started streaming a few years ago, every single one of my streams, if I upload anything on YouTube, it's automatically the yellow dollar sign. So I don't get engagement through the yellow dollar signs. That's why I'm doing things like this, Project 10,000, bring on people like Rekieta. And now I got 400 people watching. Maybe half of you or whatever can click the subscribe button. That's a hint, people.
Click it.
And then you can come watch my morning show Monday through Friday, 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock Central. There's my commercial. The show is brought to you by you. So anyway, so yeah, so that's, they're people who are in small channels. They don't want certain channels to grow.
Right.
Oh, so
I mean, to resonate with that, I covered James Damore from the legal side during his lawsuit pretty heavily. And I noticed immediately that my Google search results, like the actual Google search results, if you clicked on images, the top result for the next year was an old picture of me dressed as Drex. No matter what, and no matter, I had, yeah, yep. So I had videos doing 50, 100,000 views. There are all sorts of pictures of me out there, all sorts of different topics. The top result would always be that picture in Google Images. It took a while to find my YouTube channel. There would be other stuff. And it's not like I had an internet footprint other than YouTube, right? It's not like there was some other chatter.
You had an internet footprint. You had one. There's
Uh,
not the one you wanted.
right, right. But like that picture was from a Facebook group.
Mhm.
And the other picture that was shared was the thumbnail of a YouTube channel with like, I don't know, 3,000 subscribers or something. And we're talking, this is when I was getting into having 80,000 subscribers and doing shows to 3 and 4,000 people live every night. That was still the top result.
Mm.
Like it was an insane sort of idea. But then Google engineers started reaching out to me on who are Google engineers on the right and saying, "Hey, they were sending me copies of the internal communications because Google had Google Hangouts, which they used to use publicly, but Google Hangouts had an internal, their own internal server with 80,000 Google employees had access to it, and it was closed to the outside world.
Mhm.
And they would send me all sorts of stuff. My bar registration was being sent around Google headquarters. They were talking about like who this lawyer was, how they could report him. All that stuff happened from Google employees.
What?
Um, yeah, so they were really pissed off that I covered the James Damore case and that I covered it in a way that was favorable to James Damore. And I also made fun of the dual speaker combo of someone who identifies as an ornate building and the other speaker identified as a wingless golden dragon. I made fun of those idiots.
Oh.
So that was very ableist of me or whatever, anti-trans, I don't even know. But yeah, the James Damore was definitely like, and it took a long time to recover from that. There was no organic growth. I think what did it for me was Vic Mignogna and covering his case, which was not organic growth. It was promoted around a lot of different places, and I was able to build the audience that way. But that was built off of people who were in that anime community looking at the case, looking for information about it. And I was one of the only places covering the legal aspect of it. So that's what it took. And then after that, you know, the kind of, I think the anger over the James Damore stuff is largely gone now, but no, it's a real thing, man. And yeah, if you got on the south end of Google, well, my blessings to you, my son.
That's I'm confident that's what it was, because mostly the only people who I started gaining subs on were people who I interacted with already. You know, like I the Lords of the Night, Ranting Monkey, and those guys. I got subs from that, and then and who's the other one? Hard Bastard. I don't know if you know who that is, but he's coming on
Yeah,
here
I
Friday.
had him on the show a long time ago.
Oh, you did? Yeah, he's coming
Yeah.
on Friday. By the way, on Friday is the 4th anniversary show, 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock Central. Another shameless plug. Okay, I got a couple other topics, and then we'll wrap. But how hard is it? I'm sorry, this is gonna hurt. I know. How hard is it not to be able to drive your car?
I hate this state so much. No, for people who don't know, I have wanted a fast car since I was 8. I had a book of sports cars. You know, I loved them. I loved the Lamborghini Countach forever, but that was kind of a dream car of mine. And then I got to sit in a Lamborghini Murcielago. I know I'm pronouncing all these wrong because I'm not fucking Italian, okay? But I got to sit in a Murcielago the other day, and I realized I didn't fit. I'm too tall. And
Back
so
when they were the fastest car, an older one or a new one?
this was I think this is a 2010
Oh, okay.
or 2012. A guy I know in the Twin Cities, his son had a custom one, and I was like, "Can I sit in this?" I'm like, I've always dreamed of having one, and but it looks a little small. So he's like, "Yeah." So I sit in it, and I'm like, if I tried to drive this thing, my hands would be hitting my knees the entire time. Like I wouldn't be able to steer. And so that kind of crushed my dreams of having a Lambo. So I went on a search for an American car, especially with all this fucking EV crap coming out, where all these cars are quiet. The new Corvette, the next Corvette, E or whatever, the electric version, they're advertising it as it has a stealth mode that's super quiet. I'm like, I don't want a quiet sports car. Stealth mode. I'm not like sneaking up on the Russians in my Corvette. I want it to be loud. I want it to scream and throw gas and smoke and spit everywhere. And but they're trying to like market it as cool that these things are silent. No, cars are awesome.
That's the point. It has to sound like a caged animal.
Yeah. So I was looking around for different cars. I was looking at the Corvette C8, the Z06 specifically. They're impossible to get. Right now you can get them, but it's $100,000 markup on them. Oof. So I didn't want to do that. And actually, when I asked about ordering one, the guy's like, oh, if you order one, you'll get it in 2025. And I was like, yeah, no thanks. Then I was looking for a Challenger Hellcat because it's the last year that they're doing the V8 Hellcats. But what I ended up finding and can't wait to drive is it's a Mustang Shelby GT 500, and when spring rolls around, man, it's gonna be loud and fast and glorious. And I've wanted one forever, but yeah, I got it home the other day, and it has to be in the garage until it's, April.
You have to have real road underneath those tires too, because they're not, Mustangs were never meant to drive in anything slicker than, maybe a small bit of water.
Right.
At best, because they slide around a lot.
So I can't wait. I'm gonna get tickets and be stupid and have just a fun time.
How many tickets are you gonna get in your first month? You have a quota?
I'm hoping 0, but I'm budgeting in for at least 5.
Yeah, that would be great. All right, now let's go on. Let's talk about some legal stuff now, because you're a lawyer. By the way, somehow I got the nickname Lawyer Dog. Now, I'm not a lawyer. I don't give legal advice, but there was a case, I believe it was in Louisiana, where some guy said he was being interrogated, and he said, "I need a lawyer, dog." And did that case ever get overturned? Because the judge said that.
I think it was upheld by the appeals court.
Okay, it's saying that he didn't ask for a lawyer.
Yeah, Lawyer Dog case. Let me see. I'm trying to figure out if it however that ended up. Oh, wait, here we go. Let's see, what do we say? What do we got here? Fast forward 2 years ago. Last week, Supreme Court rejected this request by a margin of 6-1, claiming that the way he asked for a lawyer was ambiguous, meaning it wasn't clear. Yeah, so the Supreme Court of Louisiana still held on to that. Yeah, no,
that's insane.
Yeah,
that's insane.
It's one of the dumbest decisions, because, and I know like people have their various opinions, like, well, he should have just asked for a lawyer, and the use of slang or whatever. Here's the thing. You should not have to definitively, clearly, and unambiguously assert your right. And this applies well beyond your request for a lawyer. Your right to remain silent isn't invoked until you break your right to remain silent and specifically vocally invoke it. That's dumb. I should not have to say to a police officer, I'm invoking my right to remain silent, to get them to stop asking me questions. The first time I just don't answer and sit there like this, that should be me invoking my right to remain silent, but it's not. And that's a critical distinction. And so when, if you have a right to an attorney, they should be like, in my opinion, do you have an attorney? You want one? That should be the questions. It should be on the state. The state should have the burden of respecting your right. You should not have to assert it clearly and unambiguously. And anybody who pretends that those police officers didn't know that that guy was asking for a lawyer are out of their minds. Like, cops deal with people who use the word dog all the time.
They live in New Orleans, and people say dog for everything. Hey, what up, dog? Hey, dog, why are you hassling me, dog? I need a lawyer, dog.
Yeah.
you know, you're the dog when they say dog.
Yeah.
You know,
There's a comma, dog.
yeah.
and no, I was asking for a dog lawyer. That person should be executed on the spot for saying something so blatantly stupid. And that's the reality of how the criminal justice system works. It's why it's one of the ongoing problems with it. And the unfortunate thing is the people who end up like with a dumb case like that,
Mhm.
like it's probably not like the guy is probably guilty. He's probably guilty. He probably did some bullshit and he probably deserved to go to jail. But he definitely deserved a lawyer because it's in the damn Constitution that you deserve a lawyer, that you get one. And so for them to pretend like to try and use this weasel way around the right, and that happens all the time. And a lot of people overlook it because it happens to marginalized groups. It happens to low income communities. It happens to melanated persons with some level of regularity. And people can just then justify, well, that's a high crime community or a high crime area or even a high crime person in a lot of cases. But if we're not respecting the rights of people who commit crimes, we're not respecting the rights of people who are innocent and accused either. And that's what pisses me off about all of it.
So that's abusing the fact that the government, it's what the government can't do, not what someone else should have to affirm.
That's my opinion of it. I mean, if you have a right to free speech, should you have to go assert your free speech right somewhere to like, no, you should just be able to speak, right? Like the government can't shut you down until you say, I'm going to exercise my right to free speech now.
Mm-hmm.
Your right to own a gun. You shouldn't have to assert some right to own or carry a gun. Like you have the right to keep your
not
arms.
infringed, not you need our permission.
Exactly.
You know,
imagine if it was they could quarter a soldier in your house until you said no.
mm-hmm.
Like, because a lot of people wouldn't say no. Imagine cruel and unusual punishment, but only when you assert it, right? So once they've got the wire cutters and they're clipping your toes off, then you're like, whoa, I have a right against cruel and unusual punishment. I'm going to invoke that. Oh, well, now I guess we'll stop torturing you. No, we don't think about that. We don't do that in this way, but we do it with criminal justice. And I hate that personally.
Or could it be like quartering government agents within your social media company?
If there is a Third Amendment, cases are really weird and really rare, but they definitely can happen. And it would be interesting to see something like that.
Yeah, interesting. So now let's see. So when I said I was going to talk to you about some law things, I wanted to ask you a little bit. Have you heard about Brian Sicknick's girlfriend's lawsuit?
Nope. Who's Brian Sicknick and who's his girlfriend and what's their lawsuit?
Brian Sicknick is the Capitol police officer who died of a stroke the day after January 6th.
Oh, yeah. Okay. The name sounded familiar, but yes. Okay. I got you.
Okay. Well, his girlfriend, who apparently they had decided to go their separate ways for a short period of time and apparently was not dating her on that January 6th date, has filed a wrongful death suit against Donald Trump and two of the people that were seen on video actually scuffling with Brian Sicknick, claiming a wrongful death suit, $10 million each person. And yeah, ex-girlfriend, former girlfriend, a lot of people say that. By the way, someone asked if I was streaming on Rumble. I do stream on Rumble, except for whatever reason, this particular stream glitched out and it's not streaming over there right now. But yes, I do stream on Rumble on my daily show. Anyway, so she has filed a wrongful death suit against against Donald Trump and two other people. Now, I don't know why, but it would seem to me that a suit like this would be immediately thrown out because she's not even a relative of Brian Sicknick. But
right.
Maybe you have some reason why that seems to be going forward, or help me out here.
Well, I guess it depends on if they file a motion to dismiss out any of the claims. This is just filed, it looks like. Her lawyer says that any recovery that comes as a result of the lawsuit will be donated to charity. So we'll, maybe that's true, maybe not. That's not binding. Like, she can actually just do whatever she wants with it. But why are you suing for $30 million for charity?
Maybe she's secretly related to Amber Heard.
Yeah. The trick though is she's suing the wrong parties. If there is a party that is liable for this, to me, it would be the Capitol Police, right? Like, it's typically like, this is the type of suit you go after the employer for. There's plenty of grounds that they had all the notice in the world that something like this is going to happen. They had warnings from all sorts of people and agencies, alphabet agencies, saying, we're on high alert for this. They were advised to have more officers there on January 6th, and the Capitol Police chose not to. They chose not to staff it in the way that they had staffed prior events at the state capitol. Even earlier that year, there are those pictures where they had like the fence and they had tons of police officers stopping people from coming. But it's almost like on January 6th, they just didn't do any of that. That's who I'd be suing, if anybody. But you're right on the ultimate question. Why does she have standing to sue at all?
That's what I understand.
And that's what I would attack as any of their attorneys. Like, one, this is ridiculous. She has no injury. She's not married to this person. They weren't engaged. Nothing happened here that brings her a particular injury. In fact, you would, say that publicly they'd broken up and all of that stuff. The other problem that you'd go for is it's not any of these people's fault that this person died of a stroke the next day. You don't get to pin that on any particular person. They would have to tangibly link something to a direct injury. And Donald Trump, of course, if you ask me, still has no legal liability for anything that happened on January 6th. I just don't see it. And they've been trying. They can't.
And then the 10 million each about too, isn't that an issue too? I mean, would they even come up with 10 million? They said 10 million actual damages and then punitive damages above that. Well, first of all, she's not married or, like you said, engaged, but she has no relationship to him. How would she have 10 million actual damages from each of those people?
Yeah, and if it's actual damages, the way you calculate actual damages is that's economic loss. So you're going to say that Brian Sicknick was going to earn $10 million in his life? Most people will not earn $10 million over the course of an entire career. Even a well-paying career, they don't get close. I mean, if you get you have to basically average something like $350,000 a year for 30 years to get to $10 million. Most people don't have that kind of income. So how's this guy losing $10 million a piece of in actual damages? Nobody knows. I mean, just insane.
Unless they made him a CNN analyst after January 6th.
I don't know if CNN's got the money to pay that kind of cheddar to the analysts anymore. I'm not even sure.
Well, they are laying off a lot of people. Also, last night you did a thing on bump stocks.
Yes,
and the Donald Trump bump stock ban, which how in the hell did that end up happening? First of all, why did Donald Trump, first of all, and all these new laws that they're passing in Congress, are any of these going to get, you would think they're all going to get struck down, like it's happening in New Jersey and New York and the California laws.
We'd hope so.
Are they just, is this just a shotgun effort by anti-gun people, or what do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, well, ever since let's see, DC versus why can't I think of McDonald was a Chicago one. Yeah, Heller. DC versus Heller. Ever since Heller, they've been coming hard after this because Scalia individualized the right that everybody knew was already individual, but he put it down on paper. And it was the first major Second Amendment decision really since 1939. The first, I mean, there are some little Second Amendment things in there, but really, like, that's the big one since 1939 is to have DC versus Heller in 2008. And they've been pushing various measures to try and test the boundaries since then, because it kind of changed things. If people don't remember, in the late 90s, we had an assault weapons ban under the Clintons that lasted a decade, and it successfully lasted. The assault weapon ban effectively made AR-15s almost entirely illegal for 10 years. And then thank God it expired, and it becomes the most popular rifle in the United States basically immediately, and has continued to do so. But they got that through. Once Heller happened, it became a little bit harder to do stuff like that. Not impossible, because Scalia still carves out the AR-15, because even though Scalia was a brilliant jurist, he's still an asshole who wrote a shit opinion in Heller that does not properly explore the Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms. But that's getting into the weeds here. The long and short is they're going to constantly push against this idea of individualized gun ownership being okay, and they're going to do it through the legal system, and then let that go to the courts and hope the courts rewrite the Second Amendment, because they know they can't. Right? Like, if they tried to muster the political capital to rewrite the Second Amendment, even something sensible, right? Like, why haven't they just amended the Constitution to say no nukes, though? Like, why haven't they just done that? Like, that seems easy, doesn't it?
Well, like, or even like, so when the Constitution was written, Joe Biden kept saying, "Oh, you couldn't have a cannon." Oh, bullshit! Lots of people had cannons. Anyone who had a ship had a cannon, and lots of people had cannons that they hadn't just their shed.
The Revolutionary War and the Civil War cannons were borrowed from private owners.
So, yeah. Which I only have one gun, and that's handed down. But I would love to have a cannon. That'd be kind of cool. Actually.
My cousin has one.
Really?
Yeah. It's kind of ridiculous.
But
his neighbors have to hate him. It's so loud.
I'm sure. Oh, he uses it?
Yeah, well, he doesn't like fire like stuff out of it, but like fire, make it just drive fire, make the boom sound and stuff from time to time.
Like the Texas A&M football game and shit.
Right. Yeah, and it's loud. It's awesome. But no,
Alexander says, I want a particle accelerator. Oh my God.
But like, okay, so I don't think so. I'm, private ownership of nukes doesn't bother me that much. It'd be really hard to do and all of that stuff. But it just seems like one of those things where both sides could, in theory, get together and be like, all right, chemical weapons, nuclear weapons, these don't fall under the Second Amendment, and we're going to make an amendment to clarify that, right? Like, that seems easy. It seems like we don't want people to do. Why haven't they done that? And they haven't done it because they haven't needed to. US v. Miller allowed the Supreme Court to write in exceptions to the Second Amendment that don't exist. And we're just all okay with that. And even Scalia's opinion in Heller pays homage in some ways to US v. Miller, and the understanding that there are different categories of arms, and some of those categories aren't appropriate for ownership without some very complex licensure scheme. And I'm looking at the Second Amendment going, that's not in there though. Like that's not even something you can read into there. You have to create a fiction, but we've let them create the fiction. And so the lawmakers are going to constantly push against it to make a court create a bigger fiction, even a favorable court, like we had with DC versus Heller, will write an opinion that effectively says that AR-15s maybe could be regulated if the government wanted to, because the right is about self-defense, and the handgun is the most commonly used self-defense gun, and that makes it particularly worth protecting, which implies that other guns aren't particularly worth protecting. But you read the Second Amendment and tell me where the Second Amendment is about self-defense. It just says, right, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Not the right of the people to self-defense, not the right of the people to defense against tyranny, not the right of the people to hunt, not any reason to own a gun. There's just a right to own a gun. But that's not the world that we live in, and that's not even the world that the most conservative justices live in, and it's a real damn shame.
Yeah, I see my wife just put a super chat in, says, I want a cannon, P-Dog.
Get that cannon.
Honey, we'll work on getting a cannon, dear. And also 200-watt studio. What did they say here real quick? P-Dog Nick would be honored if you'd make balls or no balls a regular part of your morning show. Okay, well, it'll be under consideration. Okay. All right. Now, all right, we're gonna move on. We're gonna finish up with this last topic, and it's basically just on things that have been on your channel. So we've watched several trials on your channel. Oh, a lot of people are asking too, when will Rittenhouse be on your show? Do you figure that out yet?
Waiting for him to confirm the date, hopefully in the next week.
Yeah, I've seen him. I haven't seen him do a lot of interviews. There's a couple recent ones. I'm not sure what those were. I'm gonna go watch that. But I think I've been waiting for you to do the Rittenhouse interview because I watched the entire Rittenhouse trial on your channel. And that's kind of part of my question here. Of all the trials that you've covered from a YouTube or online standpoint, can you rank maybe your top 3, 4, maybe 5 trials that you've done? Start
Sure.
5 and go down.
Well, oh God,
because
5.
Okay, 2 or 3. Let's go 3.
Yeah, I was gonna say
because I mean, I know I have an idea of one that was interesting just because it was so unique, but maybe that's not on your list. We'll see.
Well, so I liked Rittenhouse and Depp in certain ways. Huge for the channel. Really, really good money, all of that stuff. But I wouldn't put Depp as one of my favorite trials to cover. A lot of Depp was very boring. And I wasn't the, some of it, when it was interesting, it was interesting. When it was recorded interviews that would go on for an hour, I wanted to bash my head into my glass desk. So I don't put Depp in the top trials I've covered from that standpoint. I know a lot of people do, and that's great. But I do put Rittenhouse up there. I think the Rittenhouse case was I think it was a critically important case in the cultural question of self-defense. I think it was also a clear case of self-defense that people needed to see because it's also ugly, right? Watching people die is not fun for most people. And being okay with the fact that those choices led to death is kind of uncomfortable, but that's part of freedom, and that's part of your right to self-defend. So Rittenhouse is there. I really enjoyed the Theodore Edgecombe case out of Wisconsin. And I really enjoyed the Curtis Reeve trial, which was the Florida popcorn shooter. I thought both of them were really good, interesting cases. They were also alleged self-defense cases. Curtis Reeves won his, Theodore Edgecombe lost his. He had one of the worst lawyers I've ever seen, B. Ivory Lamar, literally stealing Johnny Cochran's opening statement from the O.J. Simpson trial. Like shit like that was hilarious. So I liked those. Those are of full trials I've covered. Those are probably my top 3: Rittenhouse, Reeves, and Edgecombe. They're very good. Which one were you thinking of?
Well, the one that was at least interesting just because of uniqueness, although it was tedious as fuck, was Grounds.
Oh, Darrell Brooks. Yeah.
Darrell Brooks.
That was a fun case to cover, but
it was just so interesting watching him flounder through and watching this judge go back and forth, not really knowing what to do with him and trying so hard to not screw up the case that was so obvious. But it was just fascinating. I mean, someone going pro se and the rope, or I shouldn't say the rope, just the leeway that she gave him and just the reactions to the prosecuting team and everything. I just thought that was fascinating. But I don't
Yeah,
know.
it was an interesting trial, but it did at points get really tedious and really old, and the judge contributed to that a lot. In the same way, like the Kim Potter case was really interesting to cover, but the judge made me want to die. She was so boring and she took forever on stuff. It's like, no, we can move through some of these things. You don't have to do your mommy, your grandmommy Asian voice for every single thing that comes up. She just took so long. It was so encouraging to the jury and to the lawyers who did this case. It's like, oh, stop it. You sound like a librarian. I really did enjoy the Chandler Halderson case. I didn't cover that trial live, but I did a lot of recaps on it on the night show. And I mean, that case was just wild. And I think they still have missed out on some of the perpetrators of that crime. So it's, yeah.
Cool. Well, that was my list. We got through it a lot faster than I expected. A couple of chats. Kingslayer Damocles made a point to own and bear, not just to own.
Yes.
So, and what do you think the barrier to the so-called constitutional carry is as far as the Supreme Court taking it up?
That the Supreme Court is, frankly, a bunch of cowards. And they have been for a long time. They're more concerned with legacy than law. And they painted themselves into the corner that they're in by making, effectively, constitutional amendments with every decision that they make. That they have the potential to give the effect of a constitutional amendment from an unelected board of 9 people. And when we think about what that really means in the history of our country, and you think about all of the work that went into, well, I mean, let's go, since we're on a melanated podcast, let's go to the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments. What did it take to abolish slavery? I mean, it took a civil war, right? Mm-hmm. For that to happen. What did it take to give blacks the right to vote? It took a civil war and then an amendment, and it was still controversial after the Civil War fought over that issue. What did it take to get to get income tax? I mean, you couldn't get income tax until we had a world war to do it, right? And that's something the government wanted. Getting the political capital to pass an amendment is a tremendous undertaking. At best, if you average it out, we get one every 30 years. And that's an at best. So we don't have to, because the Supreme Court can come in and create the right to abortion, right? Like that's what they did in Roe versus Wade. They created it. They didn't find it in the text. They could have anytime Congress could have passed an amendment that says abortion will be protected up to whatever time, and that will be that. This is a
the states, but that would never get. Is it three? It's 3/4 though, right?
It's 2/3 of the House and the Senate, and then it's like 30. You need 35 states now to ratify it. So, but you're right, you can't do it. The country doesn't want to take things away from the democratic process very easily, and that's my point. Is that we now, though, we hand over the right case to this group of 9 judges, and suddenly we have effectively a constitutional amendment. I mean, that's what happened with Roe versus Wade. That it got overturned, well, yeah, so did prohibition with the second constitutional amendment. When the political will was great enough to overturn the prohibition of alcohol, they did. But that was still an effective amendment as it happened. And abortion was the same thing for 60 to 70 years. We had 70 million unborn Americans. That's a lot of people that were affected by that decision that carried the weight of a constitutional amendment. And there was no vote on it. There's no ratification. And the states could not even make a different law against it. Whether you believe in abortion or not, Like the idea that you can remove it entirely from all of the states, remove all of these things from the democratic process, from the political process that determines our laws, is a huge undertaking. And we just gave it to judges rather than what's written down, which is to give it to Congress and then the states, because it's supposed to be that important.
And that now it clearly is a strategy for many people want something done. They're either executive orders or the judiciary, and they're forgetting about the entire legislative process, or at least bypassing it in a couple different ways. Okay, so are you going to be? Someone mentioned the dumpster case. 200 Watt Studio says, P-Dog, just wait for the Dumpster Brothers case. Are you? It's in Texas, so they probably televise that, right? Is that one?
I hope so. I hope so. I want it to be televised. I want to cover it. I want to watch every single second of those deep Texas accents talking about this case from everybody. The lawyers are going to be funny. The witnesses are going to be a blast. The circumstances are actually really interesting. Like getting away from the comedy, you have a really complex self-defense question. And I think to me, it's going to be a really good indicator of the cultural perception of self-defense in Texas, because you're going to have a jury determine if they're okay with how this guy got shot. And maybe they are, maybe they aren't. We always go, it's Texas, you know.
Texas self-defense is a really different bag than other states too, isn't it? I mean, they're
it seems to me.
The guy that shot the guy in his front yard, you know.
Yeah, Kyle Carruth shooting Chad Reed.
Basically, they
never charged him, and that's entirely Texas culture. Like if you asked Andrew Branca, who's you want to know a nationally recognized expert on self-defense law, if you asked him about that, he said that he thought it was a bad shoot. That under the law, strict reading of the law, he was not justified at the time he pulled the trigger. But then you go, but it's Texas. You come onto someone's porch and you grab them, you grab their gun, even if they throw you off the porch. He's not in danger at the time he shoots, you could argue. But still, that dude came onto his property and put hands on him. In Texas, man, the average Texan goes, fuck around, find out. Right? Like you come onto my property and grab me, you get a bullet. So,
but then you have the one recently, the guy who put 9 bullets in the guy with 2 pauses, the robbery, you saw, that one.
Oh, that like the taqueria or whatever.
Taqueria. I mean, it seems like in Texas, would that be different than where, because you would think that first of all,
taqueria was in Texas, wasn't it?
Was it? The first 4 shots, sure, you're protecting everybody else, but then you shoot him 4 more times, and then you shoot him 1 more time in the head. It seems like that at least the second 4 and the last one for sure. That one's like the guy's already down.
Give me 1 second. That's one of the problems, but one second.
Oh, no problem. All right. While Nick's gone, Gamer Valine, I see from over on Streamlabs, said this same mentality is why last month our Attorney General said they caught Americans trading technology and sniper ammo with Russia. What the fuck is sniper ammo? That's a good question. I'm more concerned about the DARPA shit they stole. And then, thank you, Black Keeper is your light.
That's right.
It says, what at Kyle Rittenhouse was a clear case of an innocent man who was on video defending himself start to finish. The MSM kept lying and pushing their narratives to railroad a straight white kid.
That's right.
And then over on YouTube Super Chats, thank you. Oh, I already got that 200 watt studio. So
he had one more, I think, that said Borowski or Judge Mommy.
Yeah.
Borowski's the best judge that I've watched. Of all the trials that I've watched, Judge Borowski was the best one.
Wait, who's he calling Judge Mama?
Judge Mommy, he's talking about Regina Chu, the judge who presided over the Kim Potter trial.
Oh, Kim Potter trial? I don't know. I watched that
old
one
Asian
too.
lady.
Yeah, isn't she the one who cried at the end when she was sentencing? Was that one?
Yeah, I
that she
hated all
regretted
of that.
having to do this. Yeah. Okay, I'm not going to make a sexist comment about women judges because Lady Boomer's watching and my daughter's watching. So anyway,
Here, I'll do it. If you're a judge, don't fucking cry. I don't care if you're a man or a woman. What are you talking about?
There's no crying in courtrooms.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Well, Nick, I want to thank you for joining me today. This is awesome. It definitely worth the wait. I don't know if anyone here is not already subscribed to Nick. You probably are, but if you're not, why are you not? And hopefully I really hope that the dumpster case is televised and you do that one, because I one thing I enjoy about watching trials with you, not just your your fanciful banter, but also some of the people you bring on and you get different legal perspectives. Someone asked a question in the chat a while back, when people in the so-called law tube lack of community, I'll call it, disagree on trials, how does that, well, I think it's a good thing because you hear different opinions, but what, I don't even remember what the question was, but what do you think when people have big disagreements on the trials?
Well, I mean, we all have different opinions and perspectives and reads of the law. That's what makes the legal system work. If the law was clear cut, you wouldn't need lawyers, right? Like you just need something to plug in the facts and then you'd get out the answers. But we will disagree on what facts are relevant, and we'll disagree on what law exists, and it's not resolved just because we get one result or another, especially in a jury trial. Because once you get to jury trial, the people who are deciding what happens aren't lawyers. Like, they have no idea, and they're often wrong in how they apply the law. They're reliant on the good faith description of how the law is to be applied by lawyers who are interested in them understanding it in a very particular way. And we're relying on their ability to understand those lawyers, even if it's communicated, just fine and with no ill intent. So you got a lot of factors that go into it. I think it's good to have people disagree. I think it's good for people to say, well, I think this, and have another person go, you know what? Actually, no, I was in a courtroom and this happened, or in this jurisdiction, this is how it works. I think that's great. I think that only adds value. And that's the good parts of the quote unquote law tube community for what it is. And that's what it should always be. It should be this place, or this group of people, whoever they are, of varying skill sets and opinions, being able to, occasionally inform each other and either reinforce opinions with experience or citation, or to counter something and say, hey, and plenty of my colleagues have been on my show and said, no, that's not really how that works, or no, that's not how the law is in this state. And that's cool, because the law is too big. Like, you cannot know. There's no way to know enough of it for any one person. So that's the beauty of it. As long as it sticks there, it's great. When people start trying to like form some sort of cohesive unit and make like a business out of it, it's a disaster and should not ever happen.
YouTube groups don't work.
No, because again, the big question is, how do you actually split anything, like reasonably so? Because let's take me. So I have 475,000 subscribers, and then you've got, let's say, another we're going to add a new LawTube channel with 10,000 subscribers. And so we're both in there. Do you split by subscriber numbers? Because maybe that person's actually contributing more to a particular topic than I am. Do you do it by hours worked? Because then the person who just has the more free time to stream gets the most money. Like, it's just unwieldy, and it doesn't work out. Everybody should just do things independently. And if you want to create your own like network, do what like Court TV and Law and Crime have done and create it. Go ahead, have a bunch of lawyers run it. You could probably make a fortune, but I don't want to be involved in that. That sounds terrible to me.
Well, and that's Dan Abrams making all the money.
Yeah.
You know, that, maybe,
right.
You know, he has a lot of people in there working for him, but they're working
but
for
they're all
him.
salaried.
They're not working with him.
They're all salaried people.
And so, you know, division of labor, when you have a bunch of independent people doing independent shit, and then you want to put one thing together, that becomes a very big issue. And who gets the big trial and who gets this great trial and whatever. It's like, I couldn't see it. I actually, you know, like, for example, let's take the Johnny Depp trial. I would watch both you and Cursey Words. What's Cursey Words? Purple hair.
Emily Baker.
Emily Baker. I would watch. Yeah, I watched recaps on both on 2x speed because I got different things from both of you, and yours was funny and hers was, you know, interesting, informative, and yours was informative. You know, it's, you know, you get more out of different people. Black Hebrews, like, the taco shooting was wrong for the double tap. Well, yeah, that's in the super chats. All right, Nick, that's it. Tell people what you when you're up next, what you got going, and then I'll be streaming and we'll get out of here.
Tonight I'll be streaming on YouTube and Rumble. After the first hour or so, we'll move over to exclusively Rumble. I will have Legal Mindset on. I got to gather some topics to talk about, but we're mostly going to shoot the shit. We'll probably do a little bit of What the Fuck Wednesday, which is maybe a new segment that I explored yesterday or last week by watching a woman eat a mattress on YouTube. So we'll see what weird corners of the internet we can get to for some laughs. That's tonight. Tomorrow I will be on Critical Drinkers show. And then I will be on Legal Mindset show, and then I will be doing my show. So tomorrow's a very busy day. I'll be streaming for something like 10 to 12 hours once all is told. And then Friday will be my normal Friday panel show, which will be just jokes and comedy and good stuff. So make sure you come check those out, preferably on Rumble. And also check out the locals, rekietalaw.locals.com, for all of your live chat and exclusive content needs.
Very good. That sounds like goals for me. Anyway, also, and for myself, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me today on the Dawg Knight channel. My normal show, The Morning Night Live, runs Monday through Friday, 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock Central on both YouTube and Rumble. Hopefully there'll be no more glitches like today. And on Friday, I have the 4-year anniversary show. We're bringing in a hard bastard, and anyone else that I send the message to that wants to jump in can jump in. Nick, this has been awesome. I appreciate it. Lady Boomer has already said that she's going to start watching you too now. And if we're up
I'm sorry for everything that happens.
I'm waiting for her to see one round of unbreaded. She'll laugh at it, but she'll also be like, what the hell was that? So anyway, and if we're up near Spicer or Wilmer or whatever that area, we're gonna make one of those trips during the summer. We'll come up and we'll let you know. We'll maybe have lunch and maybe
absolutely. I'd love to take you guys to lunch.
That's what I forgot.
Oh, what's that?
Okay, real quick, make this quick. How'd you get into this whiskey thing?
Once I became a lawyer, I decided that men drink whiskey, and so I started drinking it.
Very nice. Very nice.
That's how complicated it was.
Because I'm a former bartender. I am a booze aficionado. Now, and then my last question for you, because I see you drink a lot of whiskey, mostly bourbons and American like type whiskeys, right? I know you rarely. Once in a while you'll throw a Scotch or something in there, or an Irish, but mostly American whiskeys, right?
Yeah, I used to drink a lot more Scotch, but I realized that like the $25 markup on every bottle was annoying, and so I just started. And it's also more limited selections around here of what Scotches you can get. So I end up exploring more bourbons and ryes because it's easier to get a good variety.
Okay, so if you are not drinking whiskey, what what is your next choice?
Well, I was a cheerleader, which means I am gay. So, vodka cranberry, I find delicious. But, have you ever had a purple rain?
Well, here's the thing, Nick. Being a former Fridays bartender, there's a lot of drinks that are named certain things that everywhere.
Okay.
Different recipe.
A purple rain is, it's vodka, blue curacao, grenadine, and some filler.
Possibly pineapple or
I think it's pineapple juice. There you go. Yeah, so you got vodka, blue curacao, grenadine, pineapple juice, and then I've had them blended or I've had them on the rocks.
Okay.
Those are really fucking good. those taste like sin because you don't taste the liquor and they go down really easily. And then I could drink those all day.
You can end up asleep on a beach in Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Right. All right. Well, wait, what was that? Hold on. What was that?
We drank those at the 80s party.
Oh, apparently we drank those at an 80s party we were at in earlier this year, or in the fall or whatever. So
Would you do an 80s party?
Oh man, it was a hoot. I have a I was wearing it was the weekend of Halloween. We had an 80s party. A friend of ours was having a birthday. It was a big 80s party. Everyone was dressed in like 80s type stuff. It was all 80s music.
Dude, my wife and I years ago, we went to 80s prom. It was so much fun. Like it was like done like a prom. Everybody, I had the shades with the shades, I had that. I had a corduroy suit. God, it was great. It was an absolute blast.
I had a big wig. I had a big wig that looked like a Jerry curl. And so see this hair here. I just shaved my head. I do have hair, and it's funny because I figured out I've been doing this for like 8 or 9 years, and I let my hair grow. And once I realized, oh my god, I have a bald spot. I didn't even know because I shaved my head all the time. No, I was wearing a big old wig that is a Jerry curl. I was wearing Zuba like pants.
Yes.
If you remember Zubas. And then I think I had like a neon green shirt that said, what did it say? Oh, radical or rad or something like shit like that. Because I am an 80s kid. You see, you were born in the 80s. I lived the 80s. Okay. 82, I graduated from high school.
That's not an 80s kid, that's an 80s adult.
Well, right. That's what I mean. I was drinking in the 80s. So, I Prince and Madonna and, all the MTV shit that they all had when music and the beginning of hip hop, that was when I grew up. If you name an 80s song, I probably know it. And I can probably tell you, even if it's a one-hit wonder, who sang it. So anyway, all right. So that's gotta be it. Anyway, Nick, thank you so much. I appreciate you finally making it. And like I said, we'll let you know if we're up in your area. We'll go out for a bite or something.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So anyway, for your anniversary show on Friday, 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock Central on YouTube and Rumble. And that's it. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here. All the people who made donations, super chats, and things like that. Good to see a few familiar faces in the chat that I hadn't seen for a while. That was great too. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it. Gotta go. My name is Dawg Knight, and I'm out of here. Bye-bye. Hey, this is Dawg Knight, and thank you for watching today on the Dawg Knight channel. If you have an observation or remark you'd like to make about this video or my channel, I absolutely welcome you to write it in the comment section down below. I really look forward to hearing from you. And before you go, if you like what you saw but you're not already subscribed, please make sure you hit the subscribe button and definitely click that bell that pops up afterwards so you'll be notified when I post new videos or when we go live. I broadcast my live show, The Morning Night Live, Monday through Friday at 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock Central. A special thank you to all the supporters of this channel who share our videos on social media and who make donations through Streamlabs, YouTube, Venmo, and Cash App, which are all linked in the description down below. Thanks again, and until next time, I'm Dawg Knight, and I'm out of here.